Hello and welcome to the Empowered series. My name is Sophia Ivan Garba with Empowering Women for Excellence Initiative. If you've been watching, you already know what this is about. We're talking with women experts on topical issues, and we're very delighted today to have another wonderful woman join us. Her name is Larai Gwani, and I'm gonna just take a few minutes as usual to tell you about her. Okay. She also has a nice long CV. So, and I really like that to see what our women are doing. Larai Diana Gwani is a graduate of Sociology and Master of Public Administration. She is the Assistant Director, Legislative Matters Department, and was Committee Clerk House Committee, the Clerk of the House Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development in the Kaduna State Legislature for 14 years. So we're speaking about a very experienced administrator here. Lara has garnered experience in governance, particularly in the public sector performance, parliamentary oversight, gender and social inclusion, policy, advocacy, stakeholder, and citizen engagement. She's also the Kaduna State House of Assembly Desk Officer on Gender and Social Inclusion, leading on planning and implementation of state policies, and served as Secretary to the Special Committee mandated by the Executive Governor of Kaduna State to thoroughly study the Child's Right Act. The committee came up with recommendations which included drafting an acceptable child's right bill in line with societal values and norms, which was something that was always a big issue when we were speaking about localizing some of these instruments. She then served as a member of the Kaduna State Child's Right Drafting Subcommittee, and she was a member of the Kaduna State Gender Technical Working Committee, which was aimed at developing the state gender policy and to inculcate gender budgeting in the Kaduna state budgeting process. That's not all. Laray's schedule of duty includes processing and transmission of information to committee members. So there's a committee members of the Kaduna State House of Assembly, organizing public hearings and oversight investigations, producing committee reports and bills, ensuring communication, cooperation, and collaboration between the committees, other state departments, development partners, and other stakeholders. Larai is also the site lead of the African Research and Innovative Initiative for Sickle Cell Education, ARISE, that is responsible for engaging with communities, policymakers, and healthcare providers to determine feasibility of implementing a sustainable newborn screening program for sickle cell disease in low and middle income settings. Lara, I hope I did the bio, good, very well. I hope so. And we're just going to dive in. Welcome to the Empowered series.
Thank you for having me, Sophia.
You're very welcome. We're delighted to have you. Now, with this long CV, tell us a little bit more about yourself and why you chose this path of policy and governance related work.
From the onset, I would say I stumbled on it by accident, like most Nigerians. Um, either you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. If you're neither of the three, it's really you're someone that doesn't really have a future ambition. So getting admission to study sociology was the start for me. I realized that people affect the society, and the society in turn affects how we relate to one another. So for me, that actually stuck, and it actually pushed me into wanting to make the society a better place. And since I couldn't be a doctor, I realized that doing something in the humanities aspect was the catch for me. But for me, walking into Kaduna State House of Assembly was also an accident. Like it wasn't my first point of call. Like it wasn't my desired place to work because I did not really understand what um, the roles of the legislature was. So that was a bit of tricky for me. But on getting to the House of Assembly, I realized that, hey, I could actually touch the lives of people also although I'm not elected, but I'm part of the committee that makes this law. And sometimes my input is needed in the committee setting when working on the bill. They ask you, what do you think? You're part of the committee, so your input is also needed. And I realized that that was a huge opportunity for me, that I could actually impact on the lives of people through that also.
Thank you. I mean, that's so interesting because we hear this a lot more now. Representation matters. So just imagine someone like you, a woman in such a position. I think you are so well. You're so well placed. You have access to things that would be very helpful for us, even in civil society. Uh, well, of course, obviously not things that are in confidence, but definitely just having you there and having that voice there is incredibly important. And it's interesting how you stumbled upon it. You're well placed, I can tell you that. So my next question is, tell us a bit more about what it entails to be engaged in the kind of work that you do. Like, who do you engage with? Who do you advocate to, even from within the system? What kinds of activities does your work, your everyday work, involve?
Okay, my main assignment is a committee clerk, and that means you're working directly with a particular house committee. So, for instance, I was working with Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development. It means that I work hand in hand with the chairman or chairperson of that committee. My work entails engaging with being, I'll say, a liaison between the House Committee and the public, because politicians are not really easily accessible, and so I am the accessible face of the committee. So I'm the go-to person of the committee. I'm the one that CSOs, um, um, NGOs, pressure groups, the public has access to. So I'm the one that actually takes this information to the committees. And in turn of the public hearing, I'm the one that takes the letters and solicits for information from the public. That's basically what my work entails. And for you to get into this kind of work, is basically you have to go to school. So I tell women, if you have to go to school, go to school. If you're in school, work hard at it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you have to go to school, and because it's a lot of intellectual um, strain, and a lot of you make use of your intellectual capacity a lot.
Mm.
So you will need to be trained in that. And secondly, you will need sometimes, in most cases, well, in government settings, we don't really have mentors, but I think it's something that the government should encourage, mentorship for new people coming on board, even for students in school, in higher institutions, so that
Mm.
they will see the beauty of this job. Because
Mm.
working for the civil service is not an attractive job. Most people don't like
Mm-hmm.
it. They feel it's, what do they do there? We just sit
Mm-hmm.
down and
Mm-hmm.
make noise in dusty offices. Yes, but we do work. We do work. And if the right people don't get on board, we're going to have a gap in the system. So I'm advocating for other young, bright women to come on board. They should look at the possibility. It's not just working in an oil company or in banking. Or this is a really interesting job, and it gives you a sense of satisfaction when you see policies you actually contributed to, or when you see changes or recommendations you preferred actually coming to play in those policies. It's really very um, it makes you happy. It gives you a satisfying feeling to that.
I'm fascinated by this, like, because I think for us in civil society, we're always there, we're making a lot of noise and advocating for things to happen and so on. But to actually be in a position where you can actually influence that, you know, immensely and even really start to see change, it must be very fulfilling for you, as you said, when it happens. I mean, I just divert a bit. Is there any like very strong experience you've ever had with civil society that really stayed in your head, and that you've not been able to forget, since you are the face of the committee. So I mean, you don't have to say who, but any like really compelling story with civil society that you've had.
Yeah, I would say the work with the child's rights for me was having to meet people that have gone to the fields and come back with data and with facts on why this bill needed to be passed. And then there are other bills like well, the gender equality bill has not been passed, if I can remember. But it's something that you realize that what you term gender inequality here is different from another society. So when you're advocating for women to be in school in the east of Nigeria, they're advocating for men to go to
Mm,
school. And
mm,
for me, that was, if I did not engage with civil societies, I wouldn't have known that. I would have just stayed in my little space and saying, oh, this is the problem, because this is the problem, then it's the problem everywhere.
mhm.
So for me, for civil society, it's I think for my work, I'm grateful that they exist, because they get to do most of the work. They get to beat out these problems. They actually they advocate for these changes. So the government doesn't just wake up and say, oh, I think this bill needs to be done. No, it comes from a process whereby a group of people went out to do most of the work
Mm,
for social change to happen.
mhm, mhm.
So for me, I'll applaud the work of the civil society. I hold them with so much respect, so much respect. They're doing a really, really great work, and of course, they're also partners in development with the state. So
I mean, it's so good to hear that, because I think in past years past, we've always thought we were at opposite sides of the pole. But really seeing more collaboration and partnership and so on, it's so important, and that is what will bring results. So thank you for saying that, and I think you've kind of answered the next question that I had, which was, tell me something tangible that has come about as a result of your work. So you've mentioned the Child's Right Act, and maybe I could ask you around that, like, how difficult, because I imagine that even the civil society, they come from different angles, they have different interests and focus. What was it like trying to synthesize all those different opinions and interests to be able to come about with a product, so to speak, a bill that would work? What was that like?
child right. For me, that was like my baby because I just got employed barely 2 years and I started working on the bill. And it was unbelievable. Like what you would think shouldn't be a big deal was
Mhm.
actually a big deal.
Mm, mm,
It were a group of people that so much propaganda around it,
mm,
and everybody then well the religious lines came into play, and that's a very sensitive line to cross in this nation. For the child's right, the respect I had for most people was seeing people that necessarily didn't need the bill to be passed because nobody was going to marry off their daughters at 12. Nobody was going to, they were highly placed, but it became a voice for those that didn't have a voice. The 12-year-old in a remote community that had to go through VBS because of early marriage. And for me, that was the first face of humanity that I saw. Because really, most of the people advocating for it, they didn't need it to be passed. Because they were already practicing what was said in the bill at
mm,
home. So
mm,
basically, personally, they didn't need it.
mhm,
But there were people that needed that bill to be passed. And along the years, we had to make provisos for some sections subject to religious beliefs
mm,
and societal norms and values. And it was basically the clause of early marriage mostly that was the bone of contention. And I knew at one of the meetings, the chairman said, "You can't throw away the baby with the bathwater. So let's
mhm,
do it this way. It's an excellent bill. Can we just make a proviso for that particular section so that we
mm,
can't throw away a beautiful bill because a single
mm,
line or a sentence?"
mhm,
And then for me it was, and then later on, when His Excellency Malam Nato Erifai became governor, um, they, they came up to change the name of the bill because child's right was already, they knew what child's right was. So it was going to still arise in various quarters. So they changed it to child protection, welfare and protection law. So most people didn't, it was the same content. And they just changed the name so that it could fly. And I knew the day it was passed, I was in so much disbelief, I was just normal. And everybody was like, are you not happy? He said, it's unbelievable. But for me, with the child's right, it wasn't just passing it into law, it's now enforcing it.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's over, for CSOs, I tell them all the time, it's not over. You need to, Kaduna State is doing a great job. The Ministry of Human Services and Social Development is doing a great job in taking care of abused girls and all the other social ills that are happening. They're really doing a great job, I must say. But it's now left for civil societies to throw more lights to it. Okay, this law has been passed. Has it been enforced? Has it been implemented? What are the obstacles stopping it? What needs to be done? It can be done in phases, you understand, because of course, the funds for passing these laws, Kaduna State doesn't have such funds because it entails training and retraining quite a number of the staff for it. So for me, the child's right is I'm glad Kaduna State passed it eventually, but more work still needs to be done in ensuring that it is fully implemented.
Absolutely, you're right. And I think you've raised so many important points about, I mean, first of all, that it was actually passed. I remember it's been such a big issue in the northern states in Nigeria over the years. And as you said, with all these different influences, it was such a big deal. And, when you look back at the main convention itself, the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and then looking at how to localize, because that's usually part of the challenge with developing countries and international instruments, right? Like, how do we localize it in a way that will work? So when you speak about not throwing away the bathwater and the baby, it is about, what can we do, and with time, how much can we improve, and see, how things change. And, I love that you call it your baby. So you're obviously very jealously watching it, and you've given us a charge to make sure that we're monitoring. We're not just, okay, it's done, and we all sit down and we're happy and drinking mineral and so on. We should be thinking about how we're monitoring, being able to give feedback since we are partners, and really look at what else could change moving forward, and even all those other difficult bills that are out there. It's really, really, really inspiring to hear this. Do you happen to have any other stories? I'm just wondering, like, because my next question was going to be, what do you think? What advice do you give to civil society? Just like you have some success stories, right? So, what is the best way to approach things? We want to change, we have evidence, we come, we advocate, we talk about things. What would you say is the best way for us as partners to work with you, to bring about change, really bring about change?
I'll think, okay, well, civil societies actually are doing a great job in researching before advocating. So they actually come with facts and data. Um, but sometimes I think they need to come with real life stories. You understand? Like people I know for lawmakers, if you bring a story they can relate to, then they're interested. And if your policy is centered around this governance, passing a bill, you don't really have any problem. But if it is tied to a budget line, that's when most of the times you find out that be careful. You need to find out, does the MDA have the budget to cater for this policy? You understand? Because governance is very expensive in Nigeria. Everywhere in the world, governance is not cheap, to be honest. And our Nigeria is a country that our income is slowly dropping, and so it has to be a cost that will affect a wider population.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. Because I knew the issue I had during the disability bill was when you were advocating for a ministry. I know I told the CSOs that this is tricky. If you're asking for a ministry of your own, it's going to be tricky because the government doesn't have the funds to just create a ministry. And the man came and even merged the ministries. You understand?
Yes.
So if you're coming with the angle of you have to have a ministry, it might be very tricky. It will just be on the waiting list. You'll keep on adjourning it and adjourning it and adjourning it. But if you would say, oh, you should have a desk officer or you should have a department in the ministry, then that's easy. You can easily transfer the other staff there. There's no need for new recruitment. So for me, CSOs need to be objective, need to be realistic in making their demands. What is it that can be achievable? That should be what they should ask themselves. Or they just come and say, oh, we can't advocate for a rocket right now. So why? Because we can't do it.
It's just not possible.
Yes, you don't come with impossible demands for makers. Yes.
So would you then say that, let's say what I want as a, member of civil society is big, and I might decide to have maybe a 3-year advocacy plan. All right. And would it be useful or helpful to advocate to, say, the Ministry of Budgeting and the planning people first before even coming to you? Because maybe we might find allies even in those departments, so they can make a case. Yeah.
I would say, for instance, if your case is probably about women's health, you don't need to actually come to the House of Assembly. And advocate to them. All they need to do is, and then go to the Ministry of Budget and advocate to them as well. All they need to do is to provide a budget line that will cater for that. And so when they go to defend their budget for the Ministry of Budget and Planning, to just ask, because we've advocated to these two MPs and they know the importance of what you're advocating for. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a bill. Policy is not necessarily a bill, it's just a government pronouncement to improve on the lives of its citizens. So it's you could go through the MPA, you could go to His Excellency himself.
Okay, that's very useful. And before I go to the last question, although it's kind of related, do you want to tell us a little bit about Arise? It sounds very interesting. What's happening there? Yeah.
All right. Like I tell young people, don't be lazy. Volunteer, and I think that's how I got involved with Arise. They needed a rapporteur during focus group discussion, and I was called upon to do it. And afterwards, they wanted to work with me.
No surprise.
That was how I became the site lead for Arise for my organization. It's actually a research collaboration between institutions in the US and EU institutions. So the UK used to be part of it. There are a couple of institutions in the UK, some in France, an institution in Italy, another one in Spain. And then institutions in Africa. Oh, of course, an institution in Lebanon, the African University. Yes.
Nice. Close by. Okay.
Peru. Yeah. They're part of Arise. And then institutions in Nigeria, maybe Kaduna State and Kaduna State Ministry of Health, ASU, Barodico, we are all involved in it. So it's basically about newborn screening, because we've realized that, research has shown that if a sickle cell disease is detected at birth, that's between 2 weeks at birth, you can actually start giving the baby care, and then you can improve on the life of the child. It's
Mm.
just basically penicillin prophylaxis. I never knew that. That's
No,
enough
no.
boost, to boost the chances of the baby's survival.
Mm.
But you have to know at birth before the cells begin to take the sickle shape.
Mm.
So
So
it's a
while
process.
the baby is still in the womb, you mean?
No, no, no.
Oh,
The
at
baby is
birth,
yes,
actually
at birth.
born.
It's
Oh.
the way they take they do the newborn test for HIV for babies,
Oh.
prick test. That's the way they
Okay.
do
Oh,
their
wow.
and dry blood samples.
Okay.
So Arise is starting a pilot project in Kaduna. In
Okay.
Kafenton is where they have the machine for the testing. So that's going to where the pilot is going to start, and so it involves advocacy to communities,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then healthcare providers of how they can actually put this into their own schedule of duties,
Mm-hmm.
and all the protocols. And well, we're supposed to start um, early this year, but it's COVID actually stopped a lot
Yeah.
of things. But
Yeah.
hopefully, we're going to start testing soon.
That's
The
amazing. That's fascinating. I mean, we think we know, we grow up knowing about sickle cell, and in fact, it's so funny that until I started to travel more widely, did I understand that only certain people, maybe dark-skinned people, and so on, are. I thought, oh, everyone, because this is how I grew up.
yeah, I
So
thought black people was only black people, but
yeah.
the Middle East have their own strange experience.
Exactly, exactly. So, awareness is we think we're experts in different things and we think we know stuff, but it's there's so much we don't know. So awareness is incredibly important. And I'm gonna I apologize, but I'm just so interested in this conversation. I want to ask you one last question before the last one. Um so speaking of something like this, which obviously I didn't know about, a lot of people don't know about, it's not yet taken off because of COVID, but really thinking about government projects and the things that government does for the people, I feel like there's always this disconnect that people really do not know when government does something, either in response to what has been asked or just really on their own. You just talk to you
No,
just
okay.
Sorry, can you hear me?
You froze a
Okay, I
bit.
froze a bit. Okay, so I was saying that whether government has done something in response to advocacy or on their own, they're innovating. Today, you just talked to me about an app that might be coming out. People don't know these things. What
Yeah.
really, like, how can we address that? This lack of, I don't know whether it's lack of communication or is it literacy levels? What is the problem?
I don't think it's literacy level.
Okay.
It's actually lack of communication, if I think.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected. But I think that is it. People don't know because they've never heard of it. That's why
Mm-hmm.
people don't know.
Mm.
And if you want them to know, it means you need to tell them these things. They need to know what is going on. So a lot needs to be done. And okay, the social media is actually helping out in sending out these communications faster. But how many percentage of the population
Exactly.
are actually on social media? So
Yeah.
there's that need of engaging community,
Yep.
engaging village heads, engaging women groups, engaging youth groups, engaging. You just need to bring them on if
Mm-hmm.
you really want the public to know what is
Mm-hmm.
going on,
Mm.
and they're in the dark. So because they're in the dark, they would accuse you of so many things. They'll accuse the government,
Absolutely.
oh, this is not happening, that is not happening, that.
Absolutely.
But they don't know. They don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So government needs to do a lot more about informing people, the
Or,
citizenry.
or partner with CSOs. That would make
Exactly.
partner
Exactly.
with the media, partner with the CSOs. Bring them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So I am so interested. I'm just going to go to the last question. What are your upcoming projects or research, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my upcoming research is, of course, it's a rise and money. But where do I see myself in 5 years? I see myself engaging more with the people, with my community, about what they would want the government to do,
Mm.
to bring about change in society. because working with Arise and engaging with some CSOs and development partners have really widened my horizon.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the people that this change is being brought to. And the only way I can do that is by volunteering to go to those communities. So so that's what I see myself doing in the next 5 years, engaging the community more on issues, yes. And
Yeah.
engaging more women and youth, actually, because we are at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I say that all the time. Gender and social inclusion. Yes,
Mm.
that's going to be my drive for the next 5 years. I want to
Mm.
see more women in space, more women, and more
Mm.
young people.
So more affirmative action, youth, and so on. And I know that as a civil servant, you're not allowed to say it. So I'm gonna say that I hope I see you. I hope I see you in a place of governance soon, because we need people who continue to want to make a change. So we're hoping. And first, let me say thank you for the work you're doing already. Like you said, if we don't know, we're in the dark. We don't even know what's happening. So it's so heartwarming to see and know that there are people like you over there supporting the making of policies and even pushing for implementation, monitoring, and making things even better. So what are your parting shots? Because we've come to the peak of our series, our episode for today. What are your parting shots for us today?
Okay, I'm going to borrow Lupita Nyong'o's words. Your dreams are valid. They are valid. Dream it. Work towards achieving it. You can dream for anything. My dad used to say, the sky is not the limit because men have walked on moon. So you can walk on the moon. You don't have any limits. I choose to challenge also. I'm a woman.
Thank you so much, Larry. We
Thank you
really
for having me.
appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing.
Thank
We will certainly be inviting you to talk more during our events, and hopefully,
thank you for
explore areas. Yes. Thank
having
you
me
so
this
much.
time. Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So,
Bye.
in this series, we had Larai Gwani, and she's been speaking to us about policy, governance, research. This has been brought to you, obviously, by Empowering Women for Excellence Initiative. Looking forward to seeing you at the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.